Embarrassment for healing? Sounds weird, right? Well, we're gonna get weird with it because here's the thing. This is actually a really sneaky and powerful way to rewire your nervous system. Today, I'm gonna break down the science, share a story, and give you some real life how-tos because as much as I love the science, and oh, I do, if we can't use it, what's the point? So grab some tea, settle in, let's go to the science. First up, neuroception, a big fancy word, and I love my fancy sciencey words. And I always want to be clear about what I'm talking about, so let's break it down. Neuroception is actually something that we call a theory. And if you're going to hang out on this channel, just know that we do science and soul here. That means I'll always be transparent about what I'm talking about, and I'll often break things down. Neuroception comes from polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges, a really big name in the nervous system science world. The idea is our nervous system is constantly scanning our environments, basically doing a safe, safe, not safe analysis. Safe, 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 not safe. It's kind of like playing a subconscious game of duck, duck, goose. Duck, 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 goose. And when your brain yells goose, boom, the action starts. This might feel like fear, anxiety, muscle tension, disconnection, whatever your threat response looks like. The tricky part, you don't get to choose when your brain yells goose because it's happening beneath our conscious awareness. And that's why neuroception is such an important theory. It's the foundation of how your nervous system responds to the world around you. And it's a key player in this whole embarrassment for healing thing. And don't worry, we're going to come back to this idea of theory versus mechanism later. For now, just hold on to this. Your nervous system is scanning and it reacts before you even know it. So, now that we've got neuroception on board, let me give you a few more science pieces to hold in your hands as we go. First up is something called rejection as threat. Embarrassment is often your body's way of saying, careful, you might be stepping towards social rejection. And here's why that matters. Our nervous system is wired to treat rejection like a threat. Back in the day, like way back in the day, if you got kicked out of the group, that could literally be a death sentence for you. And so you needed the group to survive. Our system evolved to sound the alarm when we sense rejection or that we might have been stepping out of the social boundaries. That flush, that sinking feeling you get, it's your body going, danger, danger, do not get kicked out of the village. So hold on to that thought as we go. Next up, spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is the belief that everyone is watching us. We're under a microscope, that people are noticing every little movement, gesture, and stumble. And the truth, for better or worse, most people are barely paying attention. They are wrapped up in their own world. That doesn't stop our nervous system from going, oh no, they saw that. Everyone saw that. And that feeling makes us understandably self-conscious, especially when we're carrying old wounds or when we're stretching into something new and vulnerable. The last science piece I want to give you before we move into the juicy part, the how-tos, is something I call the neutral face phenomenon. This is a nasty one. It's the idea that when we see a neutral face, no smile, no frown, just kind of stillness, our brain often interprets it as negative. Not neutral, negative. We assume that the person's judging us, disapproving, or not liking what we're doing. Especially if we have a trauma history or social anxiety, our brain fills in the blank with threat. Let me give you a story about this. When I first started teaching, and honestly, let's be real, this is a still thing. It's happening still. I got really nervous before every single class. In fact, I got scared, especially at the beginning. I have some social anxiety, and public speaking is definitely up there with the things I never thought I would do. And when I stand in front of a room full of people, and I would look out over their faces, when people are really listening, they often actually have neutral faces. So I'd look out over the sea of faces, and I'd see all these neutral faces, not unhappy, just neutral, focused, listening. And my brain would go, they hate me, I'm doing it wrong, I already lost them. when in reality, they were actually engaged. People often look neutral when they're listening. It took a long time and a lot of positive feedback for me to realize I was misreading neutral attention as negative reaction. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Neutral attention as negative reaction. That's the neutral face effect. When we've been hurt before, our brain starts filling in the gaps with danger. Once I understood that, everything shifted. I just had to translate the data differently. All right, now let's get to those practical real-world how-tos. This is the part where we turn all the science into healing. First how-to is something I've touched on in a recent short. It's called gentle embarrassment, and it is a body-based method of healing. I like to offer different ways in and different types of practices, body-based, cognitive, visual, relational, so you always have options. Healing isn't one size fits all, so we try different things. So this how-to is gentle embarrassment, and it follows a principle from psychology called titration. Here's how I like to think of it, because I'm also a plant nerd. There's this thing you do with really dry plants. It's called layered watering. You pour in just a little water first, let it soak, give the roots time to open back up, and then you give it a little more. You layer it in gently. Do titration, it's the same idea. We keep our system from flooding by layering it slowly. So how do we do this with embarrassment? This practice is actually a kind of embarrassment inoculation. You purposely expose yourself to small, silly, anxious, cringy moments that feel awkward and show your nervous system, hey, that wasn't actually dangerous. One of my favorite ways to do this is silly dancing. Yes, silly dancing for healing. Don't worry, I won't make you do it. And I didn't do my full dance on camera because I'm still a little nervous about that. And you're sending the signal you can survive people thinking you're being a little weird. The second way silly dancing is actually helpful is when it becomes what we call a safety signal. Especially for trauma, although this works for lots of things, when we create safety signals and build them into our day-to-day lives, we find healing. What this looks like is you are literally doing something that you would not do if you were running from a tiger, and this signals to your body that you are safe. Other signals that you can build into your life are humming, singing, stretching, dancing, play, slow blinking. These are all signals that help us know we are safe. All right, we got it. There is no tiger. Next up, name it to tame it. Yes, it rhymes. So when you're feeling awkward or anxious or vulnerable, name it out loud. Say something like, woo, I always get a little nervous at events like this, or this is awkward for me. I'm trying to show up anyways. What this does is it takes the sting out of it. You're not pretending it's not happening. You're gently taking off the mask. And I want to be really clear about this. This is not about self-depreciating humor. This is not, wow, I suck. Or, look at this total mess I'm being. That kind of language might get a laugh, and it actually often subtly reinforces shame. Name it to tame it is about saying something true and kind and letting it live in the room. It is a soft vulnerability that tells your system, hey, we're allowed to be real. So try naming it the next time, either to yourself or to someone else. All right, next up, pre-framing. Pre-framing is what you do when you set the tone for your brain before you step into the moment. It's a little like cognitive prep for your nervous system. And the magic phrase we're using here is I'm practicing. It's the I'm practicing pre-frame. Say it out loud or in your mind before you walk into something hard. I'm practicing boundaries. I'm practicing being seen. I'm practicing staying kind to myself. This gives our brain wiggle room. It lowers the stakes. It shifts your identity from performance and perfection to I'm allowed to learn. Next, the unseen audience. This one is strange, and you know I love my strange healing stuff. It's a visibility and shame resilience technique where you rehearse out loud in private to an imaginary audience. Yeah, I told you it'd be a little strange. Here's how it works. You imagine you're standing in front of a group of kind and supportive people. You say what you want to say, maybe a story, an opinion, a boundary, a dream, a truth. You imagine what it would feel like for them to hear it. You imagine them receiving it well. Do this while you're driving, safely, walking, in the shower, or alone at home. This practice actually activates some of the real neural pathways you use in social situations. Your brain gets a mini exposure without the actual crash of visibility. It's this layered watering again. It's titration. You're gently teaching your nervous system, maybe I can show up like this. Last, not least on the list, the cringe celebration. You heard me right. The cringe celebration gives your brain a little spin and a little reward. So when you've done something that was cringeworthy, or you did the anxious thing, or you did something that made you feel awkward, what you do is afterwards you celebrate that you survived. You're like, woof, I survived that. Oh my gosh. And what this does is it gives your brain a reward, and it signals that the danger wasn't all bad. So that reward locks in. And so celebrating the cringe is a beautiful way to help ourselves. Now, we've been through the science and the how-tos, and I want to send you off with this thought. If you've been feeling cringy lately, beautiful. If you've done something while nervous, amazing. That means you're showing up, you're trying. That is healing. This week, try one small thing. Let it be awkward, let it be gentle, and then celebrate the heck out of the fact that you did it. Keep it weird, be kind to yourself.